Thorpe. Thank you for joining Cheese Hangouts.
Thanks for having me.
So I have 4 questions for you regarding your new book. Most cheese books categorize their content by country, milk type, and style, but yours is different. You created 10 gateways and you say that each gateway is a jumping off point. What is that?
Yes. So that's been one of my biggest frustrations in working and living in cheese for 15 years is that consumers who are excited and want to know more and want to find new cheeses don't understand how to do that. And most of our classification systems are really technical. And if you're just someone who likes cheese and wants to find new cheese, maybe you don't care if it's French, or maybe being French doesn't actually mean anything consistent and predictable. So I really wrote the book for the enthusiastic consumer who knows a couple of things that they like, or maybe a couple of things that they hate, and wants to branch out from there. And that's sort of where the concept of the gateway cheese came from. There are 10 chapters, but actually 9 gateway cheeses. The 10th is like the grab all. I call it the misfits.
Misfits, yes.
The guys that don't fit anywhere else. But 9 really common cheeses, and they're things like cheddar or brie or mozzarella, Swiss. In fact, I think a lot of cheese people would say they're like too general or too generic. But in my experience, talking to regular consumers, that's the language that means something to people. And I really believe if you're going to change the way that people eat, you need to meet them where they are. So
yeah, that's good.
I'm all about meeting people where they are and then helping them go from, maybe a not so great brie to an authentic double creme imported brie, or to a La Tour, or to a, Jasper Hill Harbison. But you got to start where people are.
I like it.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right. In your book, you say that the average Dutch person eats 40 plus pounds of cheese per year. And I found out yesterday that Americans actually eat 35 pounds per person per year. Yes. And of course, that includes, the cheeses on top of pizza and fast foods and in boxes and frozen foods and that sort of thing. So my question is, what about the Dutch? Do they eat mostly artisan type cheese? And if so, that tells me that they are consuming high quality, nutritious cheese year round.
Yes. I mean, I feel like you are the expert on cheese and health, so I might kick part of this question back to you. The Dutch, each year when I check, the Dutch still lead the world in per capita consumption of cheese.
Oh, wow, I did not know that.
And that is almost exclusively what I, as an American, call Gouda, and what the Dutch or the brave among us call Gouda.
Uh-huh.
And Gouda, Gouda comes in many different forms, different ages. In particular, much of what is consumed in the Netherlands is a younger, not terribly aged Gouda. Mm-hmm. So like what an American consumer would think of as the red wax Gouda. Mm-hmm. But even being a younger cheese, even being made of pasteurized milk, these are still, handcrafted cheeses. Much of the cow's milk, the majority of the cow's milk in the Netherlands is grass-based milk. And it is not, to sort of contrast it with the examples you just gave, it's not processed. And that, I think, is the major difference in terms of the nutritional value and the health value of, they're eating 40 pounds of cheese per person per year because they're eating a piece of cheese at breakfast and a piece of cheese as a snack and a piece of cheese with dinner. And that's very different from eating heavily processed dairy powder, whey powder, some oil, kind of reconstituted cheese that might be on like fast, like chain pizza or like Taco Bell fast food, you gave some examples. So, I get a lot of comments when I do videos and interviews and stuff where there's always that person who's like, well, unfortunately cheese is the worst thing that you can eat. And I always challenge people on that point because fat is not bad on its own. You have to sort of look at the whole context of a food. And actually, as you well know, cheese is one of the healthiest foods, one of the most whole and complete foods that there is, if it is simply milk, salt, and coagulant. So that's what the Dutch are eating, and not what most Americans are eating.
Well, I'm going to get off the path for just a minute here. I'm in contact with some Dutch researchers who are talking about what cheeses are really high in vitamin K2. It's another show. But my point is, the Dutch seem to be, they're doing some really amazing work in this vitamin K2 research. Maybe at some point I'll do part 4. I've already done several videos on that. It's a great topic.